Cisco Meraki began with the pursuit of revolutionary new technology, 100% cloud-managed IT.
Basically, an entire network under a single pane of glass.
After more than a decade in business, Meraki continues to innovate, delivering the simplest, most powerful solutions around.
Helping our customers stay ahead of the curve as demands continue to grow.
This means that wireless is expertly designed and engineered, optimized for the real world.
Which means a better user experience, and it's easier to set up.
Meraki's best-in-class network security is updated automatically, giving you a powerful defense and peace of mind.
So no matter the vulnerability, we're always working to keep you covered.
And ambitious goals don't require cumbersome tools and a team of experts to achieve.
So you can finally get rid of all of these.
Now your networks can be configured in minutes, even for hundreds of sites around the world.
Wait, really?
Yes, really. Plus, you can manage your networks from anywhere.
Seriously, Dad?
I was just trying to finish something up.
Today, IT isn't just racks and cables in a server room. It's working with sales, marketing, and the C-suite to solve business problems. It's intelligent insights giving you an edge in decision-making. It's giving you time back to focus on the work that really matters. It's powerful technology for everyone. So get smart and work simple.
Pre-grad students at MIT were working on a project that they called RoofNet. And they called it RoofNet because it was a wireless meshing protocol designed to interlink access points wirelessly that they were literally mounting on rooftops in their campus town. But their goal was to blanket the area in Wi-Fi. So they built this experimental meshing algorithm to accomplish this. But that wasn't the impressive or the most innovative part of the project. What was impressive was the simplicity of what they'd built. Even though they were dealing with this very complex meshing algorithm, everything was managed through a simple, intuitive web interface, even back then. So let's start with network management. We have several different product lines, and normally that would mean several different management platforms. But with Meraki, there's only one, the dashboard. And so that means no matter the size of your deployment, no matter how many locations or branches you have, you log in one time and you manage everything there. Meraki's hosting those back-end servers for you. Your devices are automatically going to connect to those servers. So there's also no remote access to set up. You can certainly set up role-based access control and different access privileges if you want to. You can restrict based on IP if you want to. But other than that, there's not any kind of remote management access that you need to configure. And then one of the most valuable parts of all of this is that it's all ready to go out of the box. You don't have to set up any of this. You don't have to provision a controller. You create your account, you add your devices to dashboard, and your management platform is ready to go. Dashboard is more than just a management solution. It's also a full-blown monitoring solution. It will show your customer what traffic is in use, who is using it. If the network is running slower than it should be, how do you figure out why that is? Is it because someone is abusing bandwidth? Is it because Bob in accounting is streaming Netflix? So it's going to give you that visibility into your network usage. It's also going to give you visibility into the performance of your network. You're going to be able to see at a glance how many devices are online versus offline, which devices have an issue, and what that issue is. You can even set up alerts so that you don't have to actually log in and look at the dashboard to know that there's an issue. You're also able to set up things like regular reporting if you want to, and have those sent to whoever you want at the frequency that you want. Dashboard is a monitoring platform, it's a management platform, but it's going to give you visibility into your network, and then it's going to give you the control that you need to actually act on that information. Operational efficiency is a huge piece of the value prop with Meraki, and it generally comes in the form of time savings. And as we all know, time is money. So this is a key component of the Meraki value prop. The first piece here is Meraki is cloud hosted, and that means we're hosting the controllers for the customer, but the customer doesn't interact with them. So from their perspective, Meraki is controllerless. Since Meraki is hosting the controller for you, it means that we handle security, physical security of those controllers. We also handle reliability and uptime. So on the security side of things, we're able to ensure that our data centers are HIPAA and PCI certified. And we're able to do that because no user traffic is actually flowing through our cloud. On the reliability side, we do guarantee 99.99% uptime. And to support that, we have geographically redundant data centers. So all of your Meraki devices are going to build a tunnel simultaneously to 2 different data centers. And in the event of a server-side failure, that connection can fail over to a secondary data center. And then faster maintenance is huge. When it comes to making changes during maintenance windows, generally that's something that can be quite time-consuming, or certainly not as simple as it could be. But with Meraki, you log into your web interface, you make your desired changes, you can make them in bulk if you want to, and then you use the built-in visibility to monitor the network after that change. A great example of this actually is firmware upgrades. Imagine if your customer needs to upgrade the firmware on 50 switches across a campus. How long is it going to take you if you have to upgrade each one individually? Meraki upgrades are pushed out from the cloud through the dashboard. And then faster troubleshooting. Slow troubleshooting is one of the most consistent pain points that customers have. And being able to first identify the problem and then fix it is generally a very time-consuming process. With Meraki, that process is greatly simplified just due to the centralized and intuitive troubleshooting tools that we have built in. And then zero touch. So how you actually deploy your gear. Now, traditionally, standing up your network for a new branch or location can be quite time-consuming. It can take weeks for some customers. With Meraki, we've simplified this deployment piece pretty significantly. One of the biggest perks of just having this cloud architecture in general is that your device configurations are actually stored in the cloud. That means that you can actually start configuring the devices before you even have them. Is also extremely scalable. Meraki offers a platform of solutions. That's what we mean when we say full stack. And that means that your customers can have a single vendor for IT if they want to. And what that means for them is simplicity. It means centralized management and monitoring for the entire network. And as your customer grows the network, they can expand into other Meraki product lines as much as they want. Meraki is also a very highly programmable platform. We've worked very hard on building out our APIs over the years, and your customer might not care about that now, but they can have the peace of mind in purchasing the solution that if they need an integration in the future, if they need to build a custom app, they'll be able to with the APIs. Now, you can build out a small deployment with Meraki or a gigantic deployment. We support thousands of customers that range anywhere from 1 AP to tens of thousands of devices. But the reason our customers are able to do this is because we handle scaling the backend infrastructure for them. If your customer were to start with 10 APs today and add 1,000 more devices tomorrow, we've over-provisioned our backend infrastructure to handle that load, and we'll continue to scale our controller backend infrastructure as needed to support our customer demand. Another thing that I think goes hand in hand with scalability is our license model. We have a couple different license models, but at the most basic level, it's a 1-to-1 ratio of hardware to licensing. So that means if you've got 20 access points, you need 20 licenses. And that license includes everything. It's a single SKU that includes everything I've described so far. And it also includes new features as we release them. So when you sell your customer a Meraki license, it means that they now get access to Meraki's ongoing innovation. You install the firmware upgrade and you now have access to that new feature. Remember, there's also no controllers involved. You need the Meraki hardware, you need a license for that hardware, and that's it. So that means that if your customer wants to scale from 10 devices to 1,000 devices, all they need to do is purchase the hardware and the license. There's no large fixed cost for a controller. So the value in that is that it's the same per unit cost to scale with Meraki. That is a huge selling point. Regardless of the scale that your customer wants to grow to, it's the same per unit cost. We do have 2 different license models. We have the co-termination license model, which is the default model in any new dashboard organization. It's the one that we've had since the very beginning. And then we recently launched our per device license model. And you can recommend one or the other to your customer. And it really depends on what your customer is looking for. Each model has benefits and drawbacks, and so we have this slide here that compares the two side by side. It compares the differences if you're interested. I'm logged into the dashboard right now, as you can see. And in this scenario, let's say I am a partner SE and I'm helping a customer stand up a new branch office. Now, they currently have a branch office, as you can see, in San Francisco, but they're doing well and they're going to expand into Chicago. So I'm going to help them stand up their Chicago office. And the gear in front of me right here is the gear that we're actually going to use to set up this office. But like I said, we're doing zero touch, so I'm going to pretend like I don't have this gear yet. Let's assume that it's still on the truck, it's on its way to that branch in Chicago. Now, while I'm waiting on that gear to arrive, I can go ahead and get started now with the configuration. The way I would do that is I would come over here to the Organization Create Network page, and it's a pretty self-explanatory setup process. You need to simply give the network a name. I'll call it Chicago. Choose your network type. Right now, combined hardware is what's selected, and that's what I want because you can see I've got a security appliance, I've got a switch, an AP, and a camera. So I do want combined hardware. And then I have a network configuration section. I could choose to use the out-of-the-box default config. I could bind to a template, or I could clone from an existing network. That's the one I'm going to choose because this is very powerful. I want to show you how this works. You can choose an existing network that already has a configuration to copy to create your new network. So some of our partners actually will maintain their golden image of a location, of a site. They'll have their golden branch office config. They'll clone that every time they stand up a new network, and then they'll go into that network and make the individual changes that they need to. Every network likely won't be exactly the same. You can then go in and make some changes. So I'll do that. I'll go ahead and clone my config from San Francisco. And the last step is to select your devices to add them in. Now, like I said, we're pretending like I don't have the gear yet. So I'm going to go ahead and click Create Network and not choose any devices at all. And what it's going to do is it's going to create my Chicago network. Chicago is going to show up in this drop-down menu, and it's going to drop me into the network, and I'm going to see all of these menus for my Chicago location. And you can see in my network drop-down, I now have San Francisco and Chicago. And I've got my device menus here. Even though the devices are not in the networks yet, I still have my configuration here that I can set up. And remember, we did clone from San Francisco, so anything that was configured in San Francisco should be copied over right now. I can go into my VLANs and see if those copied over. They did actually. I've got my 4 VLANs. I think I had some QoS settings on my switches, so I'll go to my switch settings. Yes, I am marking my VLAN 2 packets with DSCP, expedited forwarding, so that looks good. On the wireless side, I do believe we had 3 SSIDs, so let's make sure those copied over. And they did. Looks good. I even have one that had a custom radius server in it, and that copied over too. Like I said, you can go ahead and make changes now. I can make any change I want to Chicago that will not affect the San Francisco network. One thing that you probably will want to change is the VLANs. If you do this, you probably don't want all of your branches to have the exact same VLANs, because later when you try to turn on VPN or you try to turn on routing of any kind, it's not going to work right if your VLANs are overlapping. So I'm going to go back to this page, and I'm just going to change these subnets here. So I'll just add a 1 to my second octet. I'll do it for all 4 of these. And you'll see that you do need to do this for both the subnet and the MX IP. It's not enough just to do one. If you just do one of those, it will throw an error. Okay, that looks good. So I'll go ahead and save that. Perfect. And I'm good to go. At this point, the config is ready to go. I'm done. All I need to do is wait for the gear to show up on my doorstep. So you could let this sit here for days, for weeks. It doesn't matter. When you're ready, you just add the devices in. So let's pretend like the devices just showed up on the doorstep of my Chicago branch, and I'm ready to go ahead and add those in. I'll go to my network-wide add devices page. And this is nice because even a network admin that doesn't have org privileges can do this. If you have an IT admin that is only based in the Chicago office and that's the only network you want them to see, they can still add those devices when they show up. Normally I would claim my new serial numbers here with the claim button, or I could drop in the order number and that's going to bring all of them in for me. But I've already claimed them actually, so I'm going to select them from my inventory here. So I've got my switch, my MX, my access point, and my camera. I'm going to click Add Devices, and it's going to drop them into this network. If I were to go to my switch, for example, and click on switches, I should see my switch in the list. Same thing with my access point, same thing with my camera and my security appliance. I should actually see these devices show up. There it is. Perfect. When you add a security appliance into an existing network that had just been created for the first time, and you go check out your VLANs, the default behavior is for the switch ports to have no native VLAN. That's going to be a problem for me because my devices downstream are not tagging their traffic. So I do want a native VLAN. I'll just go ahead and add that on real quick here. So I'm going to select all of my boxes, hit edit, and I'll choose VLAN 1 as my native VLAN, and we'll do allowed all. Perfect. Looks good, so I'll go ahead and save changes. I'm ready to go ahead and power on the devices now. So I'll cable them up. I've got two different WAN cables. I got two different ISPs coming into the building. So I've got WAN 1 and WAN 2. I'll plug that into the Internet 1 and Internet 2 ports on the MX. I will plug in the switch with port 1 into port 3 on the MX. We'll do the AP off of port 2 on my switch, and then the camera off of port 24 on the switch. Everything is booting up right now. They're all coming online. We'll give them some time as they check into the cloud and download their configs. While we're waiting on that, I will show you a couple things that I think are really powerful to do during this first time setup. One of them is to upload a floor plan. So if you go to the network-wide map and floor plans page, and this is assuming that you have a floor plan of your office or whatever the location is to upload to dashboard, you can do this. So I'm going to click add a new floor plan and give it a name. I'm just going to say Chicago. It's my only Chicago office, just one floor. You put in your address. For now, I'm just going to say Chicago, Illinois, and then upload your floor plan image. So I have one here, and this is not the exact floor plan for this location. We're just going to pretend like it is for now. It's going to drop it onto the address that you put in. So all you need to do at this point is resize it, and then just drop it on top of the building. Align it with where it actually is. I can rotate it a little bit if I need to. Perfect, looks good. So I'm going to click Save and Place Devices. So now all you need to do is drop the devices on the map where they're actually physically located. So let's say my MX is actually here in this closet. Maybe there's a closet in this conference room. Maybe the switch is actually right there with it. And then the AP, let's say we mounted it to the ceiling in the lobby. So we'll put it there. And the camera is actually also in the lobby. And if you zoom in, you can actually change the viewing angle on that camera. You want to document where it's actually facing. It's facing the doorway, so I'll leave it there. So I'll click Save Device Placements, and there we go. Everything is placed on the map for documentation purposes. If I need to remotely troubleshoot or tell somebody where something's at, I can take one look at this map and I know right where it is. Let's see if our devices came online. I'm going to go to my access points page here, and I should see my AP. Yes, there it is. It is online. I'll give it a name here. We'll just call it Lobby AP since that's where it physically is located. And there we go. I could put in the address if I wanted to. But if I come up here and go to my location tab, there it is on the map. You can see it on the floor plan. I know right where it is. I've got another tab here for a photo. I highly recommend this too to do at installation time. Take a picture of where the device is. Ideally zoom out enough that you have some context that you can kind of tell where it is physically and upload that here. And then later on down the road, if you're trying to troubleshoot remotely or you have some hands on site, you're trying to describe where it is to them, you actually have this documentation that you can check and you can see where it was when it was mounted. So that will always live here under this tab. And then finally, I've got a topology tab. I have a real-time dynamic topology view of my network. And it's going to highlight the path that this device takes out of the network, all built out of the box for me. I didn't have to do anything to set that up. So as you can see, I just stood up this network in less than 10 minutes. I went from taking the gear out of the box to plugging it in. That's all I had to do. And it pulled down the configurations that I had already set up in the cloud, and they started working just like that. This branch is fully operational at this point. Zero Touch is extremely powerful, and it is a huge value prop for the Meraki platform as a whole.